Awesome slowly walked up the stairs to his old teacher's home. He'd already been informed by her caretaker that she was deathly ill and soon to ascend. Probably he would be the last of her old students to visit Amelia before her spark flew off to pilot the stars. At least he hoped he was. His master, Amelia Earhart, was part of the old guard, the ones who shared their precious Great War experience with the new generation of fighters and bombers, soldiers, and other specialists. It was a chain which had been kept unbroken, with each new apprentice adding their own links. Was she completely alone inside that small suburban home of hers? Awesome thought not. Perhaps one of her old students remained by her side, together with what was left of her family. The suburbs of Santa Fe, California should, at least in his opinion, have been more lively. There was no kids running free, playing around with their dogs or cats, no young parents, and certainly no elderly patrons resting on their porches, rocking chairs. The weather was perfect, though. Awesome's dark fur was caressed by a gentle California wind. His pink nose happily sniffed the aroma of freshly baked cookies, which smelled like they were kind of burning now. Wait just a hamster second now. That wasn't normal. Who'd allow their precious cookies to burn in the stove? Unless they weren't around to keep watch over the delicious, sweetly sweet goodness. The space hamster was dressed in civvies and armed, just like the good client he was, with his pistol. He thought it was probably a good idea to carry that pocket dagger of his, which, as Mac had reassured him, was enough to, quote-unquote, stab something good and deadly. Again, the hamster turned his head and carefully inspected the surrounding houses, looking at them through his vision-enhanced goggles. He could only see Snark bouncing around in the bushes, chasing a single butterfly. Yes, the birds were chirping. Santa Fe's distant city noise was constantly whispering its urban song far in the background. All was as it was supposed to be. Almost. This suburb was quite as a graveyard. Therefore, Awesome, just as any other sensible person would, reached for his PDA and immediately called the closest ISEC rapid response team. One does not merely prance around whistling songs of joy while a place which should be full of people looks entirely devoid of life. Instead of some calm, cheerful stormtrooper's voice eagerly asking him what was wrong, his PDA beeped angrily.
You are in an area without coverage. Please check if your device has full access to any existing GNet nodes.
Awesome casually reached and grabbed his gun. This was Earth. There was no such thing as areas. Even in a sparsely populated place like the Santa Fe suburbs, there was full GNet coverage, paid by the local citizens, and all their own servers were linked to a small node. In this case, either the latter was inaccessible or something else had happened. Awesome looked around once more, and then at the pop gun resting at his side. Awesome looked around once more, and then at the pop gun resting in his hand. Sized down for his people and bunnies, the SIG-03 railgun was indisputably a cheap but sturdy sidearm. Perhaps not as powerful as his other weapons, the brand new sidearm was nevertheless very comfy and to handle, and his pack allowed for 15 shots before the hamster had to reload. The gun fired small pellets and at a reduced speed, therefore limiting the weapon's effective killing range to a mere 50 feet. Even after all the upgrades Awesome had installed, he still considered the gun just to be a fallback weapon. The SIG-03 vehemently disagreed with his assessment and whispered continuously in the hamster's mind, boasting its superior combat capabilities. The hamster surveilled the street one last time, then squeaked. "Hey, Snark, come here, girl. I want you to do something." The cat's ears suddenly pricked up and she stood at attention. Then suddenly Snark's whole body turned around and the cat darted towards him. Awesome's whole body shuddered. The evolutionary reflex which screamed in his mind the warning, "Predator," urged him to start running, quickly and in the opposite direction. He successfully fought and defeated his race's instinct, just like the first time he and their spaceship's cat met face to face. The tight service corridor was not an ideal place for an overgrown hamster and its once mortal enemy, a cat, to meet. Awesome shook himself back to reality and noticed that Snark had stopped and was sitting, head raised, eyes lovingly, happily watching his face. He knelt, still holding his cig up and ready to fire. "Here now. I know that. No, that didn't come out well. I suspect you can understand what I say, what all of us say. But instead of me relying on mere suspicion, take this." The hamster recorded his current location, a short hollow vid from his goggles, and the call to aid on a small data chip, and then firmly attached it to Snark's collar. Back on Starshatter, they, or at least their captain, regularly used this method to send messages to each crewmate. The cat was well aware of the sound of each person's name and recognized their faces instantly. Nobody could claim that this was just a mere pet, for it had demonstrated feats of intelligence uncommon to most house cats. Moreover, the captain and his XO claimed that the cat was a creature most mysterious. Kara, their good doctor, stated on multiple occasions that even after using the voice, her star witch power, she'd failed to entice any meaningful reaction from Snark. A powerful Avernia had the universal link to rely on at all times, which she used on the cat too, also to no avail. Therefore, when the hamster gave their smart feline companion commands, he was more than certain the cat would do whatever was in their power to follow his instructions. Nevertheless, the hamster made sure that those were simple and easy to follow. "Run in the direction of the city and be careful. I think that something untold has happened around here. Reach the first person dressed like Boris and meow his attention. Bite his ankle if need be. They must get that data chip I just secured to your collar. Understand?" Snark looked at him, head slightly canted to the one side, and meowed, left paw touching the collar exactly where the hamster's friend had tied the small crystal. Not wasting any time, the feline raced down the street in the direction of Santa Fe proper. Soon her tiny frame disappeared into the shrubs and out of sight. Awesome raised the gun, and hands slightly shaking pushed the door, checking if it was open. He suddenly noticed another familiar smell floating in the air around the house. Human blood. This was a short snippet from the fourth book in the Starshatter series, Von Braun's Gambit. This was written by the Black Knight, an independent author who is writing these wonderful novels for our enjoyment. You could show some appreciation and love by, of course, supporting the author by going to one of the links down below and finding his books on Amazon. I encourage you to start from the very first book and work your way through. Understand the first book really is more of an understanding of each of the characters, a bit of their background, and how everyone had come together. What follows after that, well, you're just gonna have to find out for yourself now, won't you? But I highly encourage to start with the first book before proceeding on with the next. It makes far more sense that way. And of course, if you've enjoyed this telling, then go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe for more stories to come down the pipe. But with that, we'll close. Thank you for coming, I hope you have a wonderful day. God bless, and till next time, farewell.